Red Sox fans have longed to hear it. The Boston Red Sox are world champions. Game over, series over, and the Red Sox are world champs again. And so are these fans. It hasn't happened at Fenway Park for 95 years. The Red Sox are world champions.
Boston organization has been well run for a long time now. From the top on down, here comes a 1-2 pitch. Red Sox win the World Series. 5-1 the final tonight. And the best team in baseball wins it all in 2018.
Sox have won the World Championship. The Boston Red Sox beat the Los Angeles Dodgers 5-1. They win the World Series 4-1. And the Red Sox become the first team in the 21st century with 4 World Championships. Can you believe it?
Welcome to another episode of the Pesky Podcast. I am the Ritt. With me, like always, is my man DC. What's been going on, man? How you doing?
Good, man. Just excited for the day off tomorrow. Spend the holiday with the fam, man. That's about it.
Hey, how sweet it is to be a Red Sox fan this past weekend.
See what you did there. I mean, you know, kind of go back and forth. Hate the Red Sox one week, love them the next. Baseball's a funny game, man. I forget who it was. It might have been Joey Capone. I could be wrong about that, but he tweeted right before the Toronto series. It's like, we're going to go out and sweep this Toronto Blue Jays team, and it's going to be wild, and it's going to make me not understand baseball even more. And I couldn't agree more, man. I'm pretty sure it was Joey Capone.
Yeah, I always loved one of my favorite movies of all time, Fever Pitch. And I love how his uncle went and told him, the Red Sox will break your heart, kid. And every night they play, you don't know. Is it going to be a great moment, or are they just going to break your heart? But speaking of breaking hearts, we're gonna go right into our guest. Yes, we have a great guest he's a Woo Sox beat writer for Beyond the Monster, and he also co-hosts the Round and Third podcast. DC, you know him. We're bringing in Mr. Andrew Parker.
It's nice to be on, guys. Nice to be on.
Appreciate you coming on, buddy.
Love that you sit there and listen to the podcast. I love that you reached out to us. Like that was amazing when DC told me that.
Yeah, so a funny story. I think me and DC have been following each other for for a pretty long time.
A really long time.
Because when you go through, sometimes you can go through your following and you can go to the very bottom, and it's like the very first people you've ever followed on Twitter are at the bottom. DC is like pretty close to the bottom. I don't know how or why, but I feel like we've just been following each other for a while. So it's been kind of cool. I've been kind of seeing you guys like get some cool guests on and stuff. So it's been cool.
Yeah. Before we talk Woo Sox, let's talk a little bit about this past series and a half. How do we, Andrew, let's start with you. How do we go from two of probably the greatest pitching performances this season for the Red Sox with no run support, like Bayo going out there in the 8th, doing amazing, to we're going to spot start some people, bullpen matchups left and right, and we're bringing in the runs left and right. Like, how does that happen in this wild, crazy world of Red Sox baseball?
I think DC in the opener there just kind of hit the nail on the head. How it's you think you just hate this team getting swept by the Marlins, and just how down they were and how down I guess the whole Twitterverse was on this team. And then as soon as this happens and you go in and sweep Toronto, it's like, holy cow, guys, like we're back. But I mean, it's a 500 team. Like I feel like you're just gonna have that every week. You're gonna take 2 out of 3 against a team you didn't think so, but then I think the A's are coming up on the schedule. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they took 2 out of 3. So I don't know what to think about the team.
Oh man, it's crazy. We're 500, and what are we, like 3 games out of a wild card spot potentially?
I think
Like,
two or three.
and it's crazy how like everybody's all down on the Red Sox being a 500 team. I know DC and I talked early on our podcast, episode 1, 2, 3, where we're like, dude, we're expecting a wild card. I know nobody over here thought, oh, we're winning the division. You know, we're going like all we ever expected was wild card. That's what we're getting. So all this naysay talk about being a 500 team and how horrible we are, it's kind of like what DC and I expected, right, DC?
Yeah, I think I had them a little bit over 500, like a couple games, but they're basically right where I thought they would be. There's a lot of question marks coming in this season. Obviously, injuries play a big part. The pitching staff has been ran through as far as injuries. But I mean, I'm pleasantly surprised with where we're at, you know, with what we have. We lost Duvall, you know, we got him back. He's kind of scuffling since he's come back, but we got people on the horizon. We got Story possibly making his return in August. I know Cora said there's no timetable, but taking live batting practice here shortly, I'm pretty sure I read. But yeah, man, it's wild. I don't really understand it. But I mean, I'm just here for the season, man. I just enjoy watching baseball, and anything can happen, dude. We still got half a season left.
Yeah. What's really crazy, man, Whitlock kind of, you know, went down. You know, he said it kind of felt the same way as his first IL stint. So, man, here we are again. Another starting pitcher. We have Sale down. We have Whitlock down. Andrew, this is where you're going to come in and shine. Can you give us hope covering the Woo Sox? Get of some starting pitchers that can come up and help us out.
I don't know how much hope it's going to bring you, but as we've seen this year already, they had to bring up a guy from Worcester to make a spot start. Matt Dermody, no longer on the team. But now it's just like, okay, like now look at the options that you do need it. You've seen Brandon Walter already, which he just came out of the bullpen 2 days ago. So that was interesting. I don't know if they're trying to, I've asked Chad Tracy about this so many times post game, like, you know, Chris Murphy got moved to the bullpen. He was one of the best starting pitching options in the organization. Move him to the bullpen, so that takes him out. Brandon Walter, they're now trying to use him out of the bullpen, see what they have. So it's like your best option right now. It is not Shane Drohan either, because he's averaging about 4 or 5 walks a game right now. Your best option is Kyle Bearclaw, and nobody really knows who that is. But he's making the start tomorrow. He's made 2 starts right now. He's only given up like 2 earned runs. He's a vet. He's been in the league forever. There isn't much right now.
Oh man, I love how you brought up my man Shane Drohan, because every time he starts to pitch, I always put out there, you don't mess with the Drohan. I love it. I got to get that on a shirt, man. It's exciting, but we also just signed a pitcher for a minor league deal. DC, you want to sit there and talk about him, and then we'll throw it back to Andrew?
You talking about Lamet?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's been injured the past couple of years now. I know he has a pretty decent pitching prospect with the Padres, if I'm not wrong. And then he got hurt a bunch. Yeah, man, I'm excited. I know I read an article that Pedro Martinez was pushing for them to, you know, reach out to him and sign him, and he was pretty giddy about them actually getting that done. I don't know too much about him. I haven't really researched him too much since I think he was on my fantasy team in my dynasty league like 4 years ago. It obviously didn't work out, so I kind of just forgot about him. But I mean, if Pedro Martinez is pretty excited and thinks he can work with him, I'm going to take that endorsement any day.
Yeah, he kind of sit there and work with Brian Bayo, and look what happened there. So I'm not saying don't sit there and crucify me and say Layman's on Bayo's level, but Andrew, could that be a possible arm that we could sit there and see very soon?
I mean, it could. He's still on the development list right now. So he's not technically on the Woo Sox roster yet. I'm sure that they would want to build him up for a couple starts and just make sure that he's like still there, because he obviously just got DFA'd by a team that needs pitching. So it's, you know, you're like, okay, like if they're, you know, the Rockies or DFAing a guy, it's like there might be a good reason for that because they need arms too. So it's going to be interesting. I think I was seeing that he should be activated at some point this home series for them, which starts tomorrow against Syracuse. So I think we should be able to see him in for a start, but I would probably say that they would want him to get a couple starts in before they would even think about calling him up.
And another quick one on Jake Faria.
Yep.
What can you tell us about him? I've seen him pitch a couple of times, and he's had both great games and bad games also.
Yeah, Faria's one of the chillest guys in the locker room. He's actually every single time that we walk in there, he'll like call us over to his locker and just start chatting with us about just anything. He's obviously a vet. He's been around for a while. He's pitched to Fenway a ton with the Rays. And so he got called up this year at one point and he didn't get put into the game, but they had him in just for just a fresh arm if they needed it. So yeah, he's obviously an option. He was not too good at the beginning of the year. They were using him out of the bullpen and they moved him into the rotation because Murphy got bumped out. So he's a good vet. He knows what he's doing. He's been there before. He knows how to get outs in the major leagues. He's also best friends with Zach Gallen from the Diamondbacks. So he said Gallen's been giving him a bunch of tips on starting. And then Blake Snell was his best man in his wedding. So he's been giving him a bunch of tips. Like the guy's well connected. So.
Oh man. Hey, those are some great connections too. So you can't go wrong with either one of them. So yeah, just wanted to sit there and throw out some, names we might see after the All-Star break, because if unless Heim sits there and has some, a starting pitcher or two come in, maybe they put. I don't really see them pulling Pivetta back to a starter and try to stretch him out because, Pavetta's been doing pretty decent in the bullpen.
Is that for me?
But yeah.
Almost it cut out there. Yeah, I was actually going to bring up Pivetta when we talk about the series. Was that the one game he pitched 4 innings, had 6 strikeouts. Was it last night? I think it was the bullpen game when Whitlock got hurt. Yeah, I mean he's been decent, man. I know last time we talked about him, he hadn't let a run out, and quite a bit of appearances. I was a little worried about him, with that interview. I think it was Chris Cotillo brought up about, possibly not, making it back into the road or, keeping his spot if he didn't, do well the next start. And he kind of gave that little wishy-washy answer that I know kind of pissed a lot of people off, but it seems like he's embraced the role. It's just good to see a vet kind of own that, It sucks, losing your spot in the rotation, but, he's coming in, he's pitching pretty decent innings for us. And that was, a big outing last night from him. 4 innings, 1 earned run, 6 Ks, 2 walks, I think.
Yeah. Another guy we're going to throw to Andrew, who was in our bullpen that we could stretch out, Corey Kluber.
I have no comment on Corey Kluber.
Okay.
I like that.
Listen, I don't want to dog the guy. He's at the end of his career. It sucks watching him go out this way because just think about those days when he was at Cleveland, just absolutely dominating the Red Sox. And it's so hard to see him go out this way. But it's just if it's not working, it's just not working. I feel like we've seen this already. Is a guy, one of my favorite guys on the roster in the bullpen, Joe Jakes, finally gets a chance because the guys like Richard Blyer, obviously he's hurt, but he wasn't doing too hot before he got hurt. And then Jolie, who also was not doing so great. And then he kind of got hurt. I don't know if it was Phantom IL, what it was, but I feel like there's guys down in Worcester right now that could probably be doing a better job than Kluber right now, but it just sucks to see him go out this way.
Yeah. I think he's just a couple seasons too late. If it was 2-3 seasons ago, I think we could get some value out of Kluber, but I think we signed him, as a desperation move, pretty much for just somebody to eat innings, and they thought that he could just be the pitcher, not a pitcher like he was in Cleveland, but not give up 5-6 runs in an inning either. So, but enough about pitching. let's go talk about the offense now in that Toronto series. Man, it was amazing, and it was led by my favorite player, Alex Verdugo. So, man, everybody was talking about the last night's home run, first pitch, bam, off Romero. But let's talk about the night before, that defensive play he had. Andrew, I'm sure you've seen it. That arm gunned down Bichette, and he looked a little stunned.
Yeah, I think that's something that people are more surprised about this year. Is I feel like his defensive side of the game was never really talked about. And, because you have big shoes to fill in the Boston outfield, especially right in center field with Jackie Bradley Jr. being out there for the past however many years. And then Mookie Betts was out there for that many years. It's like you had this arms out there. And so you're just like, great, we lose both of those guys. And it's kind of like, you feel like you lost a step, but then now Verdugo's out here showing us that, hey, really haven't lost anything that we already had. So I think I looked at it. I think it was Pete Abraham of the Globe. He put out a story that was like, have you seen, or maybe it was Rob Bradford. I don't remember who it was, but somebody had put out a story that was like, have you seen a bigger jump defensively from 2022 to 2023 than you have with Alex Verdugo this year? And his Baseball Savant page backs it right up. The guy is going nuts defensively, and it's awesome to see.
Yeah, and he single-handedly for 2 nights back-to-back shut down a whole country. And I loved it, I was a huge Alex Verdugo guy. I predicted he was going to bat leadoff. I said, I was all for him being the guy that we knew his potential could be. DC, what'd you think about the throwout? And what did you think about as you turned on the game last night and you got to see that great home run?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. When the ball got hit to him and he threw it, I got a little nervous, just the way the last week has gone. A little scared, I felt like that ball was in the air for about 10 seconds, longer than it really was. But obviously very stoked with the outcome. And then obviously, yesterday I pay attention to the game on my phones, and I'll try to, watch it if my wife's out here with the kids, and I try not to hog the TV too much. But I was like, it's the 8th inning, it's tied game. And I swear to God, it was on for maybe 30 seconds and he jacks it. I went nuts. Yeah, I mean, I've said it time and time again. I kind of shit on him, the last 3 years. I'm not going to lie. I think it subconsciously, I just, when it first happened, obviously I didn't want to lose Mookie Betts, and just, he didn't perform at the best of his abilities after 2020, but he's really, he made me eat crow. I have no problem admitting that. Yeah, I just hope he, continues it, throughout the season. And then if we do end up extending him, I think it'd be a good move. But yeah, overall, man, Alex Verdugo has proved me wrong, and I have no problem owning up to that.
Yeah, I'm trying to find.
I deleted all my Verdugo tweets, bro, so you can't find any.
No. I'm trying to find. I thought it was Pete Abram. I thought he's the one that tweeted out today, because they were talking about all-star snubs, and they were looking at Alex Verdugo's numbers, because they're like, oh, Alex Verdugo's, he's nowhere near all these other outfielders for the AL. And I'm pretty sure it was Pete. I can't find the tweet, but he just replied, all his numbers, are the top 10 and everything, I think, but home runs. But you can't get, we haven't seen personally, now this is, don't kill me again, a clutch hitter since I'm gonna say Ortiz.
Easy.
Easy.
Hey,
he's had how many walk-offs?
Yeah, be careful of that.
I know. But how many walk-offs did Verdugo have this year so far?
That's a recency bias, so
I
see
because
what you're saying.
JD Martinez also was the main. I mean, he had so many clutch hit after clutch hit just in 2018 alone.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's just a recency bias. I mean, I'm not gonna hit you too hard on that, but no, I mean, he's had a bunch of walk-offs. I don't know how many. I know he had a bunch, a handful within the first couple weeks. but I'm not going to go that far. I'm going to let you go
Okay.
out on that ledge on your own, buddy.
Hey, I'll go out there and I'll be there to jump if need be. But
I mean, I appreciate your dedication, though. I'll give you that.
Okay, honest opinion. Do you think that Verdugo deserves to be on the All-Star game roster? Andrew?
Oh, 100%.
DC?
Yeah, I do. And I
Okay.
think we talked about today. I think there's a good chance, Judge probably not going to be playing, obviously.
Yeah, there's two outfielders that won't be able to play. Judge and who's the other one?
It's Alvarez from Houston.
Alvarez? Yeah. So there's two spots, and man, it's disappointing for one, because the Red Sox allegedly have one of the biggest fan bases in MLB that we could not vote in. Devers at third, Massa in the outfield, or Verdugo. We got Kenley Jansen, and his numbers aren't the best as a closer this year. Andrew, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's just I understand why fan voting is a thing. I totally get it, but it has its flaws. As you can tell, it's been like this. I even remember do you remember when the Royals used to vote their entire starting nine in back when they were actually good, even though none of those guys deserved it? You could say the same thing about Toronto right now. They're just absolutely going nuts on, which good for them. But I also think that some people like me, like whenever I go in to put an all-star ballot in, I'm not just voting for all the Red Sox players. Like, I am going to vote for Verdugo because I think he's deserving, but it's like those guys will vote for their players no matter if they're deserving or not. And then it kind of skews, like, it takes a spot away from Verdugo could have been a reserve guy in that, but Whit Merrifield and I think Dalton Varsho almost made it. There's like a bunch of like random Blue Jays that aren't even having that good of years. So it's just skewed, man. Like you love and hate the fan vote, but
to me, it's kind of one-sided because Toronto has a whole country to vote one team in, and all their players, where, the U.S. is split up, fan base wise. And in my personal opinion, I would sit there and say either go by stats or maybe let the actual writers vote for people in. Because I was all ready for to go get me my American League, because I thought the American League jerseys are a lot better than the National League for the All-Star. I was all ready to get me my Alex Verdugo one All-Star jersey. I was ready for it. I still might be able to.
I wish they would just go back to the players wearing their team uniforms, man. I thought that was dope.
Yeah, that was a cooler look for sure.
Yeah, but final thoughts on the overall sweetness of the Toronto series, DC?
Yeah, I mean, across the board, we had a couple of guys, perform pretty well. Justin Turner, Devers each had a home run game 2. Yoshida had one game 1. It was good to see him come back from getting hit in the leg. And then just the performance by Paxton was huge in my opinion. He's been a revelation. I'm not gonna lie. I was worried when I thought, or I knew he was gonna be getting the ball this season. Is pretty injury prone, but he's showed up, man. He's put the numbers. I think he has like a 2.7 ERA right now. His command's there. But other than that, I mean, and I was pretty happy with the bullpen. I mean, besides Wink, he scares me right now. He's kind of in a rut, right? And I wish they would kind of just put him in for 1 inning until he gets his bearings back. Like he keeps putting for 2 innings and he's getting up 3-4 home, earned runs. I think 2 appearances ago he gave up 3 home runs in 2 innings. It's not where it's at. But overall, man, very happy. Glad that the offense showed up. Now I'm just kind of worried that they're going to take a vacation for the next week. But yeah, overall, man, pitching, hitting was right there, except, maybe 1 or 2 guys that kind of scuffled. But overall, very, very happy.
Andrew, what were your thoughts on the series?
Oh, my biggest takeaway is Jarren Duran. He had a 5-hit game yesterday.
4 doubles.
I mean, yeah, and he's what? He hasn't even played a full season because he was in Worcester at the beginning of the year, and I'm pretty sure he's I thought I saw he was like top 15 in the league in doubles already, or top 20. He's up there, and his OPS just went over 800. His batting average just went over 300 after yesterday. So it's like he has been the leadoff guy that the Red Sox need. I knew they were putting like Kike in the leadoff spot last year, and I mean, it would work out sometimes, but Duran's got the speed. He can actually make contact. He's hitting a ton of gap shots for doubles, and he's got the speed to do it too. So I think he has impressed me the most. And then I'm also just going to be biased, and I'm a big Joe Jakes guy. I mean, sue me, I guess, but he picked up his first career MLB save yesterday. The guy's come a long way, and it was kind of funny. So earlier in the season, I was talking with him in the clubhouse in Worcester, and I was talking to him, and I don't know how we got on the topic, but he told me, he's like, I have a series circled on my calendar in my locker that I want to be called up by. And I was like, oh, okay, that's weird. And he showed it to me. He's like, it's the Yankees series, because he's from New York area. He was a Yankees fan growing up, and he got called up this year for the Yankees series, and it was like kind of cool, like that he did that. But I'm just a big Joe Jakes guy. He's one of the best guys I've met this year. So
man,
I'm up on him.
I sit there and loved, like, can you imagine because he got called up and he got thrown in, bases loaded, bottom of the ninth. It's like, okay, here's your debut, buddy. No pressure.
Pouring down rain.
Yep.
Oh.
So, but no, I keep forgetting about Duran, because I sit there and I loved, I think Gabby Hubert sit there and tweeted out who was faster, Duran or David Hamilton. And I'm like, man, that's like saying who's faster, the Flash or Superman. Like, both of them. Like, what DC and I, when we were at Scranton for the Rail Riders game, we didn't really get to see Hamilton's speed that much, because when we were there, his first two hits were both home runs. So he got to trot around the bases, all casual and stuff. But man, just seeing him in his debut, he had, they said they looked at him, they're like, he's going to steal, and then he stole second, and then he was in home, like the next hit. Like, David Hamilton has got some amazing speed. Can you tell us, Andrew? You covered him for how long now? A little bit more about him.
Yeah, I think it really hit me, the speed, because you see some fast guys, obviously, like Duran too. Like, Duran was in the lineup at the beginning of the year, so like you said, it's like they're both pretty quick. But it hit me the first time I was really like, holy cow, like, this guy is quick. Is there was a ground ball that didn't leave the infield, and Hamilton was on first, and the ground ball didn't even get through the shortstop, and Hamilton was on third base before the shortstop even threw the ball to first. It was like, I want to find the replay, because I didn't really realize it when I saw it. And then after the game, Tracy, the manager, was kind of like, he's like, he went first, third on an infield single, and it was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, the ball didn't even get out of the infield, and he advanced two bases. Like, it's definitely something that is why he made his debut and why he's up there right now. That speed is not taught. I mean, there's no other guy other than Corey Rozier is probably the closest in the system, but there's nobody else even close.
Yeah, I see him do a stand-up triple against the Rail Riders, and like, a stand-up triple is, a sliding triple, that's one thing. But to see him get a standing triple, and then just just stand there, shake it off a little bit, I'm like, you might have been able just to get it inside the Parker, like, if you wanted to slide a little bit, because this dude has some legs. So I'm really excited to sit there and see him up there. His defense is really well taught up there, which is something we definitely need, because we can't keep having Kike on the shortstop side at all. So, but both great takes on the Toronto series. Now let's get to the bread and butter of this portion. Andrew, tell us how you got into covering the Woo Sox.
Yeah, that's kind guess that's a good question. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Chris Henrique at all.
Yeah.
But me and him write together for our site, and we were kind of thinking, we were brainstorming. We were at Red Sox winter weekend in Springfield, I think January of this year, and we were kind of brainstorming. We're like, okay, like what could we do to like really get in somewhere or just do something a little different? Like, I don't know. We were just kind of come up with options, and a very good friend of ours, Ed Hand, and then Jake Iggy. They both were credentialed out in Worcester, and they kind of put in a good word for us. And I think it kind of started from there. And I mean, it's been great. I mean, it's been good to kind of get the foot in the door and just really kind of see behind the scenes on these guys and get to know a lot of them too. So it's a good start.
Yeah. I'm not going to say we're parallel, but it's kind of funny because DC and I, on a much lower level, we started in December. I looked over at him at work and I was like, "Hey, we should do a Red Sox podcast." And he looked back at me. He's like, "Okay, sure." Like, okay. A month goes by, then all of a sudden, like we came up with the name. We're like, okay. Then all of a sudden another month comes by and it's like, eh. Then all of a sudden it's like we set everything up for episode 1. And it's just like we needed to set ourselves apart because there's like 1,000 Red Sox podcasts. So I was like, I went and talked to Steve Peralt. I was messaging him back and forth, and he goes, just be different. Give the fans something that they can't get anywhere else. He goes, everybody does tons of interviews. Everybody covers, the same stuff over and over again. So I was like, DC, I said, why don't we bring writers in from the other team? Kind of like a one-stop shop. You get to hear about the other team's players, prospects, pitching matchups. You get to hear about the game before the series even starts. I told Steve said that's a great idea. So we kind of like we're doing that, and then we got hooked up with which I want to find out your relationship with him, Joe Bradley. We had him on. Next thing you know, he's inviting us. He goes, anytime you guys want to come up to Worcester, let us know. We're sit there and we get you press passes and everything. And then he got us he helped us out down in Scranton a little bit to get in there for the first time. And of course, I reach out to Chris. I'm like, dude, you do this all the time. I'm like, I don't want to go in there, being all nervous. So he gave us some pointers. But Andrew, what is your relationship with Joe, and how'd that ever start off?
Yeah, so Joe was, I guess he was kind of the guy that put in a good word for us too. Joe is awesome. Anytime you see him walking around the stadium, it's he's always the guy that's with. So they do like a throwback Thursday, like every Thursday, where they bring in like a old Red Sox player, or like Scott Zolak was just there last Thursday, or the last home game, and then they have like Lou Merloni was one of the guys, but Joe's always the guy that's right next to the guest or whoever it is on Thursdays, and then he's always walking around with like the high profile guys. But it's so funny because Joe is one of the nicest guys. He's always going to stop and say hello, but he pretty much put in a very good word for me and Chris. And he's been super helpful getting us started there and made us feel pretty comfortable. So definitely shout out Joe. He's a great guy.
Yeah. Joe he was a great guest. And he guided DC and I. Okay, I'm going to hook you up with these two to get press passes. And then his people contacted Adam from the Rail Riders, and Adam's like, "Hey, if these guys vouch for you, I've got you." So it's really weird because DC and I warned him. I'm like, dude, you're never going to know, what we do, where we're going to end up on this podcast, or who we're going to have on. We had Keith Folk on already. We had Devin Marrero on. We've had a slew of writers on. We have a slew of other talent from the farm system. And I never remember the day I told DC we got press passes. And DC looks at me after he calms down a little bit because And he goes, dude, I'm like, what? You know, like you can't do nothing wrong. And he goes, we're part of the press now. We can't get autographs anymore. And I was like, dude. And then the more I thought about it, it's like, Andrew, you can sit there and probably vouch. It's like, we can't get autographs anymore, but we can get friendships, you know, with these guys. And DC and I made some really good friends along the way now in the farm system. And I can't wait till we get to go back at the end of this month when Scranton plays the Woo Sox again. So we can sit there and catch up on with all the guys we've talked to. So Andrew, what was it like for your first experience going in, you know, into the locker room? Was it intimidating or?
Oh God, dude, I was sweating bullets. It was it was tough. So it was media day this year. And so they invite us to media day. And so all the, you know, there's probably like 20 writers and like local media and stuff. And everybody's in the locker room. All the players are sitting at their lockers, like in a square. Like this is my very first experience, like in a professional clubhouse. And so they kind of like herd all of the writers in to the middle of the the locker room. And it's kind of like the guys were talking, but as soon as we come in, they're all kind of quiet, just looking at us. And so we're all just standing right in the middle of the room, and every single player is just staring at us. And I'm like looking around, I'd be like, holy cow. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I didn't even know how to like approach somebody. Like it was tough. Like it was hard. I mean, I'm happy that I kind of had a little relationship with Chase Shugart from the Woo Sox. He's in the bullpen for them. And he was the first guy I went up to. He was like my first like interview, I guess, like in person, like in the clubhouse. So he kind of made me a little more comfortable. And then after that, I'm like, all right, I think I can do this. But it was overwhelming for sure.
Yeah. We haven't been in the clubhouse yet because being a bit going to look at the visiting team is a little bit different than what you experienced up there going into the home team. So, but you know, we hit them right after, you know, BP when they're out there, and it's just exciting just to see them, you know, and talk to them. Well, what close relationships have you made so far there in the Woo Sox?
Oh, players wise?
Yeah.
Oh man. I'm telling you, like, I feel like every time I'm there, like the guys, like now that I've been there for a few months now, you know, I'm starting to, you know, guys know my name. They'll like, you know, give me, you know, they'll always give a fist bump or whatever it is. They'll talk with you. Like Nick Sogard's one of the nicer guys. Like he'll ask you, like, I mean, he even asked me last homestand. He was just like, can you just tell me like how your commute is here? And like, he was like asking me a bunch of questions. I'm like, I'm supposed to be asking you the questions, but so they, like, I'm telling you, it's Crook's like one of the nicest dudes in the world. He there's like, they call it, I don't know what they call it. When Jorge Alfaro was there, they kind of had like a Hispanic corner where it was like all the Spanish speaking players were in one corner. And Crook was nice enough to actually translate for the media because he speaks English and Spanish fluently. And he's that guy is awesome. All you got a smile on the face. You guys know him.
Yeah.
Guy is awesome. Fitzy, obviously, he's just as advertised. Everybody loves him, and for good reason. He's one of the nicest dudes ever. I'm telling you, there's not very many guys that I've come across that have been bad. So I feel like it's I don't know. It's Caleb Hamilton was one of the best guys too, and it was kind of cool that he was the catcher too, and now he's up in Boston right now. Mm-hmm. But it was cool because he was like such like an outgoing guy, and he was the catcher, so he would like tell you about like, oh yeah, like Ryan Fernandez throws the hardest I've seen in the Red Sox system so far, and all this other stuff. And you know, he'd give us a lot of like good stuff. And Jake Faria is one of the best guys. I don't know. I can keep going on, but I like the whole room.
Yeah. DC, what was some of your experiences like being up there a little bit?
Yeah, it was cool, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like the first day, I mean, obviously we didn't walk into a locker room, you know, with all the players kind of just staring at you. But I mean, it was a little nerve wracking. I've never done anything like this. I mean, it was one of the first things I said to Josh was when he asked me, I did say, okay, but I'm like, man, like I have no experience. Like I watch baseball a lot, you know, I feel like I know a lot. Obviously as I do this podcast, I realize I don't know nearly as much as I thought I did, but it's all a growing experience. But yeah, man, it was really exciting just to even be, you know, near the players. I was really bummed out that I missed, you know, talking with Crook. But I think, I forget why I wasn't able to go there. I think I had plans with the family or something like that. But
your daughter had her recital.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And, but yeah, it was just a cool experience, just being a lifelong baseball fan, but also being able to like get a press pass to go see, you know, the AAA affiliate of my favorite team. It's something that I never thought would happen. Like you said, you never know where we can go with this podcast. I never thought we'd have Keith Folk on. I never thought, you know, we'd talk to anybody really, you know, this soon for that matter. But overall, it was a very, very cool experience. Humbling, you know, definitely humbling, you know, kind of puts you in an uncomfortable position in some spots. But I know like the last game we went to, we were just about to talk to Christian Arroyo. He was making one of his first rehab starts.
Oh, yeah.
And we were right there on the side wall, on the first base side. And I was literally just about to ask him how his hamstring was holding up. And as I'm about to ask him, like 20 kids just run down, and, you know, I'm like, I'm not going to bother him, man. You know what I mean? Like, and then right after that point, the usher kind of, you know, put us back in our place. But overall, very fun. Something I never thought I'd be able to do. And just, you know, really looking forward to see what else we get to experience, man.
Yeah. I kind of can't wait to end of July, possibly, fingers crossed. Get to see Trevor Story maybe down doing a rehab assignment. That would be amazing. So
I'm bringing my my daughters, and I'm gonna slip them a nice little Trevor Story rookie card. Hey man, you want to smile? No, I'm just kidding.
But what you guys are talking about, the rehabs, is one of the coolest. I think that might be the coolest perk of covering a AAA team. And you're never rooting for a guy to get hurt, like ever. Like I don't want to see these guys get hurt, but when they do get hurt, you're just like, oh well, you know, I got to talk with Adam Duvall when he was there. I got to talk with Whitlock this year. I've talked to Cutter Crawford. Like, you know, some of these guys are coming through, and it's like, all right, like, you know, then you start making relationships with some of the guys that are up there, and it's like, so you never want to root for injuries, but it is cool when they are making their rehab starts, and you get to kind of make those relationships as well.
Yeah, this was, I think, 2018. Like, I don't know what I would do if 2018 was 2023 when Pedroia and Brock Holt were both on rehab assignment at the same time. I was at that game watching them, and I actually got a batting glove and a ball signed by Pedroia, and I was just like, man, if that was today, I wouldn't even talk to him because I wouldn't know what to say. Like, that's Dustin Pedroia, you know. I was telling DC, I'm like, dude, because Joe had Ortiz, I think, opening day at Polar Park. I wouldn't know what I'm like. I would probably be like, dude, do you know you're David Ortiz?
I got a funny story about that one, by the way.
Oh, well, do tell.
Dude, we had no idea David Ortiz was there when we were there, and we were getting so caught up in just all of opening day. You know, place is packed and everybody's there, and you know, so me and Chris were walking from the clubhouse, and there's these back hallways that go towards the elevator. It takes you up to like where the press box is. So we're going from the clubhouse to the elevator to go up. And all of a sudden we're like walking, and then we see the Woo Sox photographers, which they're all great, but we saw them right there, and they were pointing at the back door, and they were all like on their knees, like getting ready for a shot. And we're like, who the heck is about to be coming through this door right now? And it's, of course, we see Joe Bradley walking in, and then David Ortiz is right behind him with his whole crew. And so me and Chris already pressed the button, and we were waiting for the elevator. And so we're just standing there kind of waiting, and we see him walk in, and we're like, oh, that's cool. He's probably just going to go to the clubhouse, whatever. No, David Ortiz stands right behind, he's towering over me. And I look at Chris, I'm like, Chris, should we like move? Like, should we like let David Ortiz take the elevator that we were about to get in? And Chris is like, hell no, we're getting in the elevator with the guy. So we're like waiting for this elevator. So like it's a freight elevator, so it's like slow as hell. And so it finally gets there. We get into we're smushed in the very back. I had Ortiz right in front of me, and he's got like 5 guys in his crew. There's like a couple other people there, and we're sitting there. This elevator's taking its time. I felt like we were in the elevator with David Ortiz for like 10 minutes. And so I look at Chris and I'm like, should we say something? Like what are we doing? What do you ever think that you're going to be in an elevator with David Ortiz like ever again, like in your entire life? Probably not. So Chris is like, I forgot what Chris asked. Like, I think I blacked out at the moment, but Chris like popped some joke and had David Ortiz laughing. And I'm just like, holy cow. Like it was just one of those things. It's like you woke up that morning, you're like, I had no idea I was going to be in an elevator with David Ortiz. And I kind of froze because I wanted to say something to him, but you're like, I feel like I was starstruck. So he's just standing right in front of you. But I don't think I'll ever be that close to the guy ever again.
I would have crapped my pants, bro.
That was close.
Yeah, dude. I would have.
Like right there, you sit there and think like he can't go nowhere. So ask him whatever you want. Like he can't go nowhere until the elevator opens.
It's just something, man, that was like you think you would know what you're gonna say when you see a person, and you're like, now I'm in an elevator with this person, and so I'm gonna like introduce myself, and you just like you're like I can't even move my hands.
Yeah,
I don't know. I would have been speechless, man. I would have been like, yeah,
exactly.
I would have been starstruck, dude, through the roof.
Yeah, I love listening to Steve Peralt, and he always talks about the white whale, and his is Nomar. Like Ortiz is, for me personally, would be the white whale, because I'm like, dude, like to get him on would be like you made it. Like you're being respected by Red Sox royalty, and it's just crazy. DC,
better hook me up to oxygen if that ever happens.
Who would be your white whale, DC?
I mean, the reason I became a Red Sox fan, I've said this before, but was 2000 when the Red Sox signed Manny Ramirez. I grew up watching ESPN baseball, as a kid. I was born in 90. But the Indians were always amazing. They're always on TV, and I fell in love with Manny Ramirez. I don't know what it was about him. He just incredible hitter. He just really stood out to me. And then, they signed with the Red Sox, and it was kind of over from 2000 on, man. I became a lifelong fan. So I'd say Manny Ramirez, but I mean, Manny Ramirez, but obviously David Ortiz is right there. But, Manny's the reason why I'm a Red Sox fan.
Man, could you imagine the stories that Manny could tell? Like,
or what the stories that Ortiz could tell about Manny?
Andrew, we're going to go white whale. What is your white whale to be able to interview?
Man, I'd have to go Theo Epstein.
Oh,
I think he would be such a good interview to really talk about, like, when he got, when he came into the organization and like what the state of it was and what he ended up pretty much putting it on the path to be. I just think Theo Epstein would be, we were actually lucky enough to get Chaim Bloom on, what was it, before the season started. And it was a great interview, but Theo Epstein would be hands down my white whale. Of course, like Ortiz, I would love to get Ortiz and all those guys, but I think Theo would have some cool, like, oh, this trade almost, you hear that sometimes. You're like, oh, we almost traded John Lester for like this person in 2007. It's like, oh, glad you didn't do that, but
yeah,
I didn't even think about that. That's a really good one.
Yeah. And just to think, like, you brought up the possible trades, what prospects we came to love might not have been here. You know what I mean?
And only he knows that too. So it's like, he's the guy that's been like, oh, I actually, he did trade Anthony Rizzo for blank Adrian Gonzalez. So it's just like, he probably had 20 other trades that was like, oh, I almost traded Manny Ramirez for this person. Glad I didn't do that. Right. So,
man, dude, could you imagine asking him what was the worst trade offer you've ever got? And
probably,
you can't really come out and say it because you're putting another guy on blast, but like there's got to be some outrageous ones. Like DC, okay, Andrew, we're going to talk fantasy baseball dynasty league. Okay, DC, please tell Andrew and the fans at home the trade proposal to you and I did not like this at all. And I told him no.
All right, hear me out. So I'm in a dynasty league. Keep 10 people. You can keep one free rookie hitter, one free rookie pitcher. So you could have up to 12 keepers, or you could keep less and then do a supplemental draft, blah, blah, blah. It's for another story. But one of my best friends, he's actually a huge Red Sox fan, Nate. He has Ellie De La Cruz and Kyle Tucker. And I mentioned in our group chat, I'm like, yeah, I need to make some moves. I need to get some steals, some average, and some runs. And he's like, all right, I'll give you. He sent me Devers, because I have Devers, Yuri Perez, and Gavin Williams. He's like, those 3 for Ellie and question mark. And I'm like, how about those 3 for Ellie and Kyle Tucker? And he's like, I can't do that. You have 2. Yuri Perez has been tearing it up other than his last start yesterday or the day before. But he's like, I'm trading, a proven commodity in Kyle Tucker. Obviously, Ellie is Ellie De La Cruz. He's like, I need one more bat. So I didn't want to do this, but I was like, all right, I'll throw Yoshida in. So I was going to give Yoshida, Devers, which broke my heart because I love Devers. My team name is after him. And then Yuri Perez and Gavin Williams. And he was right there. And like the whole time, I'm like, man, I have this sitting in my inbox and I can cancel it. I don't know if I want to leave that out there. And he's like, I think I'm going to accept it. Or I know I'm kind of close, but it's hard. But then I woke up the next morning and he declined it, which I'm kind of happy. But I don't think it was too bad. I mean, Gavin Williams is top, pitching prospect. Yuri Perez, but I also really need stolen bases. And hell, Ellie De Cruz is what, 21? Kyle Tucker's not too old either. But at the end of the day, I'd be giving up 2 or 4 dynasty keepers for 2. Hindsight, I'm glad it didn't work out, but I don't think it's that bad of a trade.
Andrew, what's your personal opinion?
I actually don't hate it. I think it could have been like a win-win for both sides, but at the same time, it's like I feel like it's a trade you didn't have to make because, like you were saying, you're like, I'm kind of happy that he declined it. But even if you would have, I feel like you still would have been like, all right, well, I'm going to have Ellie De La Cruz for the next however long you do the league probably. And then Kyle Tucker's obviously he's already a bona fide star. So, yeah, it does suck that you are giving away 4 for 2. I don't know. I feel like that's like such a – I don't know.
It's tough one because you have two unproven, Yeah, but like exactly. Yeah. I'd be giving him a lot, but Gavin Williams could wake up next spring training and forget how to throw the ball, or he could get touched up as soon as he starts. They make those adjustments. Same with Yuri Perez. Obviously, Florida, the Marlins, man, they produce pitchers like goddamn workshop, man. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy it didn't work out, but I would have been happy if it did.
I just jumped to the gun and said no. Like that was personally me. So, but no, I thought
because the offer was already out.
Yeah. I thought that was a little fun tidbit talking about Theo and GMs and stuff like that. So, but Andrew, you have got a guy that was recently called up to AAA, Mr. Rafaela. What were your reactions with him, and how impressed are you at the level of AAA already?
I'll tell you what, I am so excited that the Woo Sox are going to be home this week so I can actually meet the guy, and I'm probably going to interview him at some point this week. He comes as advertised. I mean, it's his defense. I saw that the first game he was playing out in Buffalo, he was already making like shoestring catches, and he was tracking down balls in center field. He was making a play, he was diving stop behind the bag at shortstop, and it's like his defense is unreal. That's the best part of his game. I know that his strikeouts and all that other stuff was starting to rise this year in AA. But I'm excited to see him in person. I've never seen him actually play in person before. I'm happy that he's also like, he can speak like 5 languages, I think, which is like, it kind of reminds me a little bit of when Bogarts was there, because he could speak like a bunch of different languages. So he kind of gives me a Bogarts vibe a little bit, just based off like how he carries himself. And I was talking to my buddy Jake that was down in Portland when you covered them, I guess. I don't know. He's been there for a while, but he was kind of telling me that Rafael is one of the best guys that was in that lineup. And that was also a lineup that had Nick York and Marcelo Meyer. And he said that Rafael stood out more than Meyer did, which All right.
That's impressive.
But I'm excited. I mean, they needed a leadoff guy too, and I'm super excited to chat with him. I'm gonna either chat with him tomorrow or Wednesday. So.
Oh man, you
Awesome.
might have to sit there and give us a heads up on the conversation, because I can't wait to get to be able to talk to him at the end of the month. You know, along with catching up with a lot of our other guys. Man, you could possibly by the end of the season, you might have Meyer and Nick York up in AAA. How excited are you for what the future possibly of the Red Sox infield is coming through AAA this season?
It's gonna be they draw good crowds in Worcester, and so far it's rained a ton. I feel like it's rained everywhere. I feel like even for you guys, it's probably rained a ton. So they've been trying to get as many fans as possible, but I feel like once Meyer gets up here, once Nick York's up here, I feel like a lot of these games are going to be sold out, like packed to the brim. I mean, obviously we're getting into summer anyway, so it's probably going to, but it's going to be whenever you can say that you got up the middle, you have York, Meyer, and Raphael in center. It's worth the price of the cheap tickets anyway. So I'm excited. I mean, I know they have some guys right now that are currently blocking some spots, like Emmanuel Valdez is still at second base in Worcester. So it's going to be, I know York's not going to get rushed just because he's one of the youngest guys in AA right now. It's kind of wild to think that he was not even 21 yet. So I think they're going to let him cook a little bit in Portland. But Meyer is, I feel like he's going to force their hand before Nick York does. But it's going to be exciting, man.
I love how the Woo Sox go and have like they have a lot of utility players where they can plug and play, move them. Sogart is one. Fitzy's a huge one. You know, you can sit there and play them all over the place. Who's the backup first baseman for the Woo Sox behind Dahlbeck?
It's Palka plays a lot of first base, and then Steven Scott's now playing a lot of first base. I'll tell you what, I just wrote about this the other day on this topic. Is their lineup this year? They've had everybody but two players that have not played another position. So Ronaldo Hernandez and Emmanuel Valdez. So the only two guys that have not played more than one position in Worcester, which is crazy to think about. Because like you were seeing Bobby Dahlbeck at shortstop earlier this year. You were seeing
right field.
Yeah, you were seeing him out in the outfield. You were seeing Narciso Crook is playing first base tonight, or like minor league career. He's only played first base like 10 times in his entire career, and he's playing first base again tonight. So versatility is awesome in Worcester, and I think Chad Tracy preaches that like to all the players. Like, if you guys want to get called up, play multiple positions, because then they'll use you up there.
Yeah. When I talked to Fitzy, that was what we talked about. You know, about his versatility, him being an amazing utility player, especially during spring training. So he's always goes off, it seems, in spring training, and he's an overall good guy, and he's one of Narcisco's right-hand men. Always together, always laughing, always having a good time. So, Andrew, want to thank you for stopping by. The floor is yours, but let everybody know a little bit about possibly how to get into being a writer, being a beat writer, that maybe give the fans a little tidbit advice.
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I was also in that position at this point last year where I was like, I would love to get in somehow, and I just didn't know how. Like, I come from a writing background, so I've always wanted to get more involved. So I actually took a writing workshop from the Chris Cotillo, Mass Live beat writer. He hosts these writing workshops. He does 3 levels. It's like a program. It's like 3 levels. And that kind of got like the juices flowing a little bit. It kind of like gave me a little spark that I needed to kind of get going. I met Chris Enrich through those, like me and him were taking a class together. And then he had, the site Beyond the Monster, which, we've grown that to, I think we're around 1,300 subscribers now. And we just kind of really got that started like at the end of last year. So, it's been fun. And I think my advice and like how to do it is just like we talked about earlier, is like, you got to kind of like carve your own niche. And the way that I saw that was, okay, like a lot of people write about the Red Sox, and there's, like you said, there's a ton of podcasts out there about the Red Sox. Like, you got to differentiate yourself, and you really do. And it's like, how could I get in and do something that other people aren't? And so I was kind of looking at, gotta go cover AAA. Like, gotta bring some Woo Sox news to the timeline. These guys are going to get called up eventually, so people are going to be interested. And I just shot my shot, and now I'm there.
Yeah, man. Sit there, and it's just amazing how, you got to believe in yourself first, and then, you got to follow through. And that's what, we did. That's what you did. That's what Chris did. And guys, if you sit there and think that you can do it, you can do it. So, Andrew, tell everybody where they can find you at, and all that other good stuff.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at by Andrew Parker, BY, and then Andrew Parker. Yeah, I mean, I need to use Instagram more. I don't use it, but I know a lot of players use it, so I probably need to start using it more. But Twitter is where I usually am, and that's where I put all my work out. And also like our Beyond the Monster handle. Myself and Chris kind of put out everything there as well. So,
well, Andrew, thank you for stopping by. DC, any final words for yourself?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks, man. Really appreciate your time. You and Chris are killing it. Keep it up. Really excited to see where you guys go. Definitely on an upward trend for sure. But yeah, really appreciate the kind words, reaching out to me on my birthday, giving us some time to, chat with us. Really means a lot, man. Seriously, thank you.
Well, thank you guys for having me on. I mean, like I said at the beginning, like, followed you for a long time, DC. I saw you guys have been killing it with the guests lately on the shows. Like, that's what's going to draw the people, and you guys are doing a hell of a job. So thank you guys.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Andrew. So guys, thanks for checking us out on the Pesky Podcast. Until next time, that is DC. This is our new good friend. Well, my new good friend. Him and DC known each other for years. Andrew Parker. See you guys next time on the Pesky Podcast.